Quick demo of this video. In this tutorial, we will build an ASP.NET Core MVC authentication system consisting user registration, authentication, authorization, and user profile management. All of these features can easily be implemented in your MVC application with the help of Identity.UI. So please watch till the end of this video tutorial. What's up YouTube, welcome to CodAffection. Today we are going to implement user authentication and authorization inside ASP.NET Core MVC application with the help of Identity.UI. Before getting into this topic, I would like to thank for your PayPal donations for my previous works. In order to make more helpful and quality tutorials like this, you can also support me through PayPal donation. I have given the link in video description and inside the first comment of the video. Without further ado, let's get started with the topic. First of all, let me show you how easy to implement user authentication in an ASP.NET Core application with the help of Identity.UI. And then I will show you how to customize or override this API. So I'm gonna create a .NET Core MVC application with Identity.UI. Create new application and then select ASP.NET Core Web Application. If you select these two options from these two drop downs, you can see this option easily. Click on Next. I will just create this application inside the desktop itself. I'm just showing how easy to implement user authentication with the help of Identity.UI. Click on Create. From this drop down, select .NET Core and the latest versions of ASP.NET Core. We are going to create an MVC application, so select this option here. Now we have to change this authentication here. We can select individual user accounts. So this option will add API and its corresponding user interface into this application. Click on OK. Create. So here we have the brand new ASP.NET Core MVC application. Inside this application, we already have ASP.NET Core identity and its user interface. So this is how the fresh ASP.NET Core MVC application looks like. If you click on this login here, you can see the corresponding interface with the login form. And corresponding registration form can be seen like this. So this interface or forms for user registration and login is coming from ASP.NET Core Identity.UI. In most of the applications, we have to adjust or modify these user interface for user registration and login form based on our requirement or client interest. Through this user registration form, we are saving user details like email and password here. If you want to add more data into this form, like first name and last name, like we are going to do inside this tutorial, so we may have to change the view model for designing this registration form also. So in this application, we are going to demonstrate how you can customize ASP.NET Core identity through an MVC application. For that, I'm going to create a new application. So let me close this Visual Studio here. First of all, I will create an MVC application without ASP.NET Core. And then I will add ASP.NET Core identity to the existing project. So select ASP.NET Core Web Application. You can do the same like we have done before. I will name this project as Auth System. And select the location where you want to save this project. Click on Create. Select MVC template. Click on Create. In this case, I have not selected an authentication method like we have done in previous application. As a next step, I'm going to add ASP.NET Core identity separately into this application. In that way, it would be easy to customize the API. For that, right click on this project, then add, then click on new scaffolded item, then select this identity here, click on add. With this window here, we can select razor pages from ASP.NET Core identity for overriding them. First of all, we have to select a layout page for these razor pages here. For now, I will select the default MVC layout page from this views shared folder here, underscore layout. Click on OK. Later in this tutorial, we will be modifying this layout. Inside this application, I will show you how to customize login and user registration inside this app. If you are not sure on which pages to be selected for your customization, then you can select this option override all files. And then here we have to provide a data context class for the DB operation. It will be used for the entity framework operations. Auth DB context, click on add. While providing these data context class and user class, you have to add them through this plus button, otherwise it won't work as expected. Now we have to specify an user class, then only we can add new informations like first name and last name into the DB. Click on plus button here. I will name it as application user. On the same topic, ASP.NET Core Identity User Authentication in MVC, I have written an article. I have given the link in video description. If there is any update related to this topic, it will be done first inside the article, and then only I can create a new video. So if you have any doubt, you can check the article also. Now click on add. After a few seconds later, it would be added into the application inside this special area identity here. Inside this area, we have both data and Razor pages for the API. We will discuss that in a bit. First of all, we have to add user authentication into this application. So first of all, we have to update this startup class here. As I have already mentioned, ASP.NET Core Identity.UI designed all of these interface using Razor pages that you can see inside these pages here. If you don't have any previous experience with Razor pages, don't worry, it's not that big deal. We can discuss that in a bit. We have to add the support for Razor pages inside this application. So first of all, inside this configuration services here, call the function add Razor pages. In order to integrate recently added ASP.NET Core Identity into this application, we have to call one more function inside this configure function here. Just before this user authorization, we can call this function use authentication also. We have to call these functions in between use routing function and this use endpoints. Sorry, I always forget to zoom in this editor here. In order to add URLs for these Razor pages login and register, we have to call one more function inside this use endpoints here. So we can do this endpoints dot map Razor pages can be called. Now let me save this. Now let's look how this application looks like. Go to debug, then click on start without debugging. So this is how the MVC application looks like. If you want to navigate into the forms, user registration and login, you can access these routes here: /identity /account /login. So here we have the login page from ASP.NET Core Identity from this Razor page here, login. In same way, you can access the registration form also. You can access that with this URL /register. Now let's start customizing this application. First of all, I want to use the Google font Roboto. So go to Google font and grab corresponding stat sheet reference. Google font Roboto. Select this font, and from this bottom model here, select this link, and inside the default layout page _layout, we can add that here inside the header. Like this, we also need font over some icons. So let me copy this and pasting here. Now we have to copy and paste the corresponding stat sheet reference for font over some icons. So let's search for font over some icons CDN. Usually I use the CDN from this website cdnjs.com. From this CSS tab, I will copy this reference from here, and then we can replace that here. Now inside the global stat sheet here, we have to change the font family to Roboto. So here it is, site.css. I will set the font family inside the body here. Font family. First of all, we have Roboto. And then I will add the default font sans serif. Inside this application, we will be showing both registration form and login form side by side inside a tab controller. Now let me add corresponding CSS rules for the tab control also here. Now back to the application here, reload this page. Now before doing further modification inside the user interface, first of all we have to create the database for the app. First of all we have to add first name and last name inside the user table. For that, back to the project, and then inside this data folder you can see the corresponding folders. First of all we have the AuthDB context, where it manages all of the codes related to the entity framework. And here we have the newly added application user class. It is already inherited from base class identity users. Inside that we have the default properties for the user table columns like email, username, encrypted password, etc. So first of all, let's add properties for first name and last name here. Inside the user table, it will be a personal data, so we have to mark that with this attribute personal data. So let me copy this and pasting for last name also. Now let's define the data type for these columns with the attribute column. Now we have to add the corresponding using statement for column attribute. For that you can use the shortcut hold Ctrl then press period and select the using statement here. Inside that we have to provide the data type with this parameter type name nvarchar 100. Now let's add the same for this last name also. Now after migration, these two columns last name and first name should be there inside the ASP.NET users table. Before migration, let's look what we have inside this application for the data part. As we have seen here, we have the DB context, which is also inherited from the parent class Identity.DB context. And this Identity.DB context is injected inside this identity hosting startup class here. Here you can see the injection for the DB context, and for the identity, default user authentication schema is selected by calling this add default identity here. Now if you check this app settings here, you should see a connection string with the name AuthDB connection. By default, it uses local DB. Instead of that, I want to connect to this instance SQL Express that I have connected in my management studio here. So let me update this connection string SQL Express. I will change this database name also MVC AuthDB. Now let's do the migration to generate the actual physical DB. So select the project, then go to tools, then NuGet package manager, then package manager console. First of all, we have to create a migration. For that, you can execute this add migration command with this name initial create. Hit enter. As a result of that, you can see the new folder migrations with corresponding C# file. Now finally we have to execute this command update database. Hit enter. After the command execution, you could see the newly created database here. Let me refresh this node. So here we have the new database MVC AuthDB. Inside this tables node, you could see a table ASP.NET users. Now let's check its design. Along with these default columns here, you could see the columns corresponding to first name and last name model property. So here we have done with the database part. First of all, I want to show both of these registration and login form inside a tab control. For that, I'm going to add a nested layout. Inside this MVC application, we have the main layout here underscore layout.cshtml. I want to add one more layout for tab control headers that I can add inside this pages folder here. So right click, then add new item, then select razor layout. I will name this file as auth layout. Click on add. Here it is created as a main layout page here. So let me remove the existing code from here. And first of all, I want to set the layout for this nested layout as the main layout, which is here. So I will set layout is equal to, here we have to provide the path up to this layout here. So /views/shared underscore layout.cshtml. inside the layout. First of all, here we have a div with the class row, and then inside that we can add the bootstrap grid system. Class is equal to call md6 offset md3. Inside that I will add the card from bootstrap, so class is equal to card, and then inside that we can add another div for the card header, and then we need one more div for the content, so div class is equal to card content. Sorry, here we have a typo. In order to customize this card, I will add one more class, log in log out tab. I have added corresponding CSS rules inside this site.css here. Now inside this card header we can add the tab control header. For that I will just paste this list here, unordered list. Inside the first header we have sign in form, and that our second tab is sign up. Now we have to provide the href attribute here, /identity /account /login. Now let me copy this and pasting for this sign up or registration. Instead of login we have register. Based on the selected tab header, we have to show corresponding razor page HTML here. So we can add this div here, div class is equal to row. Inside that we have another div with the class called md12, and here we can show the HTML from these registration and login pages. So we can add this @renderBody function here, and inside the login and register form we have to set this new layout page as the layout. So by default it will use this main layout here _layout.cshtml. Now we have to set that layout to newly created layout here, /areas /identity /pages, and then auth layout.cshtml. We have to set the same layout for the registration page also. So let me copy this and pasting for this register.cshtml also. Back to the application, reload this page. Sorry, we have a typo inside auth layout here, CSHTML. Let me save this, reload this page. We have another problem inside these pages, login and register. It uses a script section here, scripts, and it should be loaded inside this main layout section here, scripts. In between these pages we have added this new nested layout here. It breaks this connection, so we have to add the connection here, add section scripts. Inside that also we have to add this render section command. So let me copy this and pasting here. Let me save this, back to the application, reload this page. Boom, that's it. Based on the tab header you select, corresponding HTML will be rendered inside the content div here. In order to highlight currently active tab header, we have to add active class to those active tab headers here. That I can do inside the script section in auth layout here. So let's add the script tag here. For now I will just paste the jQuery script here. First of all, you can see the jQuery load event. Current page URL will be compared with the URL for this tab header, and match tab header will get this active class, and thereby that tab header will be highlighted. Let me save this, back to the application, reload this page. Now if you select any of these tabs, corresponding tab header will be highlighted. Now let's modify this registration form here. You can see the corresponding razor page here, register.cshtml. Actually it is a razor page, not an MVC view. It consists of two files, one for the view containing HTML razor syntax, and inside that you could see a C# file with the extension cshtml cs. Inside that it handles the backend part. It is similar to old ASPX web form page. To handle GET requests, we have on GET async, and to handle the form submission, we have on post async function here. Now, in order to display form controls for first name and last name inside this registration form, we have to update this input model here. Using this input model, this registration form is designed inside the corresponding user view here. So let's add corresponding properties. For that, I will copy this email property here and pasting here 2 times. First of all, we have first name, and I will change this display name also first name. Now we can set the data type here, data type as text, and then we have last name. Now let me copy this data type also and pasting here for last name. Now we have to add the same inside the on post async function while saving the record. So here is the function on post async. Here we have to pass both first name and last name. So first name input dot first name, and then last name is equal to input dot last name. Now let's update the registration form inside this register view here. First of all, let me remove this extra div here. We just need to keep the registration form inside this view. So let me remove rest of the HTML elements from here. We don't need this header part also. Now let's add input controls for first name and last name. I want to show them in a single line. So we can add this div with the class draw. And here we have the Core MVC div. Like this, we need one more column for last name also. Like first name and last name, I want to show this password and confirm password in a single line. So I will copy this div and pasting here for password field also. Inside this first div, we have to show the first name. So I will just copy this and pasting here. Now let's update these attribute values accordingly. Now we have to move this password and confirm password into this Core MD6 div here. Let me save this, back to the application, reload this page, boom, that's it. So here we have the updated registration form. As per the default configuration inside ASP.NET Core Identity, after successful registration, user must confirm his email address, and then only he can log in into the application here. Inside this tutorial, we are not going for the email confirmation. So inside this hosting startup file here, you can reset this property require confirmed account as false. By default, ASP.NET Core Identity added some default validations into these form controls here. For example, inside this password input field, we must have at least one lowercase and one uppercase character. I want to remove that validation. For that, inside this callback function, we can do this options dot password dot require lowercase is equal to false, and then we have require uppercase can be reset to false. Now let me build this project and back to this application, reload this page. Now let's try to register a new user. Password will be something 123456, and then I will add this @ symbol also. By default password validation, this should be at least 6 characters long. We have to enter the same password inside this confirm password also. Now let's submit the form. Boom, that's it. So here we have added a new user into this application, and corresponding user is authenticated into the application. Now you could check the same inside SQL Server table ASP.NET users. So here we have the record for Ashton Cox. By default, all of these columns are already defined inside ASP.NET Identity Core. These 2 columns are added from our application. Corresponding values into first name and last name are also added inside the record here. After successfully authenticated into this application, we have to show corresponding user email address and with the logout button here. For that, we can update the main layout page underscore layout here. I want to remove these menu items for home and privacy. So we can remove this unordered list for the menu items, and we can also remove this toggle button here. Now along with this main layout page here, you can see another page underscore login partial. Inside the view, based on whether user is logged or not, corresponding buttons or links are shown. Now let's show this partial view login partial inside this main layout page. For that, we can do this partial name is equal to underscore login partial CSHTML. Reload this home page. Now you can see the greetings message with the email address. Along with that, we can see the logout button. Now let's log out from this application. Now here we are not authenticated inside the application. If you want to log in into this application, you can click on this hyperlink here. Now we have to make modifications inside this login page here. We have done the modifications inside the registration here. So back to the application here. Now let's update corresponding CSHTML here. First of all, I want to remove this second div from the right side, which is here. So let me remove that from here. And I will remove this div for the row. We don't need this h1 header here. Let me update this grid columns here. Offset MD1. Before this login form here, I want to show a phone awesome icon. So I will add this div class login form icon. I have added styles inside site.css already. And now let's add the phone awesome icon class fast, then far user circle. In order to enlarge this icon, we can add this class far 9x. Now let's change its text color to secondary, text secondary. Inside the form, I want to remove this h4 header also. For now, I'm going to remove these anchor tags for registering a new user and for forgot password. Let me save this and back to the app, reload this page. That's it. I want to increase the button width here. For that, we can add this class btn block. Save. Now let's try to log in with the user that we have already registered. Password 123456 @simple. Login. After a successful login, corresponding logged in user claims will be stored inside the application cookie. We can check that like this. Inspect. Then go to application tab here. You can see the cookies here. You can see this cookie here with the name ASP.NET Core Identity Application. Inside that, you can see this expires as section. So this user will be authenticated inside this application as long as this web browser is opened. Once it is closed, the user session will be lost. Now let me log out from this application. Now let's try to log in with the same user. This time I will select remember me, login. Now let's check this logged in user cookie. Now this time you could see a date inside expires column. By default, if you select remember me in ASP.NET Core, this token will be here for 14 days or 2 weeks. Now let's log out from this application here. Here we are inside the home component. By default, this application shows home controller index action. It is mentioned inside this startup file here, home controller action index. Now I want to show this home controller only when user is authenticated. In order to do that, we just need to add authorization attribute into this controller, MVC controller here, home controller. Let's add the corresponding namespace. In order to access any of the action method inside this controller, user must be authenticated. Otherwise, user will be redirected to login page. Now let me save this, build this project. By reloading this page, we are trying to access home control, but here we are redirected to the login page. we are showing register and login anchor tag here when user is not authenticated. Since we have this tab control here, we don't want to show those anchor tags. So let's update login partial here. You could see this if statement, and inside the else part it is showing the register and login anchor tags. Let me remove that from here. Save, back to the application, reload this page. That's it. Now let's try to log in inside the application. Okay, so here we have logged in inside the application. If user tried to access the login or register page through this URL typing, you can also prevent that. You can update the razor page here, and inside this get async function, and we can add this if statement. If user is authenticated, we can redirect that request into the home page. So response dot redirect to the home control, or you could even provide empty / here, and let me copy this and pasting that inside this registration page here. Let me build this project and back to this application. Here we are already logged in inside the application. Now if you try to access this registration page here, we will be redirected to the home page. Now if you click on this email address here, you could see a page for managing user details like profile name, then email, and you can also change the password, two-factor authentication, and personal data. All of these features are already implemented in ASP.NET Core Identity. If you want to make any customization here, you can also add corresponding razor pages into this application. For that, back to this project, then follow the same process. Right click, add, new scaffolded item, select identity, click on add. We have already added login and register page inside the application. Now let's add rest of the files here. I will select override all files here. Then I will uncheck register and login here. Now we have to select the DB context here. Click on add. Boom, that's it. All of the razor pages from ASP.NET Identity Core is added into this project. Now you can override as per your requirement. In this application, I have skipped some of the features like forgot password, email confirmation, etc. All of those features requires email configuration. As per the MSDN documentation, we have to do that with SendGrid. I have given a link for that in my video description. I know you must be asking for various features. We can do that in future. And for JWT authentication, I will be doing that with either Angular or React with ASP.NET Core Web API. So that's it guys. In this video, we have discussed how to implement user authentication, authorization, user registration using ASP.NET Core Identity with the help of an MVC application. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video, and for more awesome videos like this, please be subscribed to this channel CodAffection. Please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues so that they can benefit from this. Have a nice day. Bye.